What is up, everybody? I'm Scott Melker, and this is the Wolf of Wall Street's podcast. As crypto approaches a $2 trillion total market cap, there are two major coins that are responsible for about 5% of the market, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin, the largest coin by market cap, is discussed endlessly, but less talked about and understood is Ethereum. Still a Goliath in the space and the central figure in DeFi, Ethereum is gearing up for its transition to 2.0, and there probably isn't anybody better in crypto than today's guest to explain 2.0 and the Ethereum case, and the case for DeFi in general. As the founder of The Defiant, a highly respected daily newsletter about DeFi, and the author of arguably the greatest book ever written on Ethereum, The Infinite Machine, I can't wait to better understand the Ethereum story. Camila Russo, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Hi, Scott, and thank you so much for that very nice intro. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Well deserved. So before we get into the questions, once again, you're listening to the Wolf of Wall Street's podcast, where twice a week I talk to your favorite personalities from the worlds of Bitcoin, finance, trading, art, music, sports, and politics. This podcast is powered by Blockworks, the fastest growing media company in the digital asset space. Blockworks has 20 Bitcoin and crypto podcasts. I'm excited to be a part of the network. Visit blockworks.co for access to the highest quality information in the space. And if you like the podcast, and you follow me on Twitter, you should check out my website and join my newsletter. You can do both of those things at thewolfofwallstreets.io. Now to get into what's important. So Camila, you were ranked number 26 most influential person in the crypto space by Cointelegraph. I think I was like 79, which is both incredible and well-deserved. How did it feel to be only a handful of numbers away from some of the greats like Vitalik, who you wrote the book on, or even one number away from Hester Peirce, the SEC commissioner?
Yeah, no, that was pretty mind-blowing to see. I was not expecting that. But I can't say I wasn't kind of proud to be on that list for sure, with so many brilliant minds up there. I'm not sure I really deserve to be like that high up in the ranking, but I'm very grateful that somebody thought it was good to have me there. I think like if this means that people are reading The Infinite Machine and subscribing to The Defiant and finding value in both of those things, then I'm really happy about it.
Yeah, I was shocked that I was even remotely anywhere near the top 100. So I even know the feeling, and I was much lower. So obviously, Ethereum is such a hot topic right now. We've seen this absolute DeFi boom in the last year. And then we've seen sort of all the arguments with high gas fees and that it's unsustainable. And of course, we have Ethereum 2.0 coming up. So there's a lot to unpack with Ethereum. I know that you are very agnostic when it comes to DeFi. You wrote a book on Ethereum, but clearly you understand the entire space. But I just want to start here with Ethereum. So why are so many people choosing to build on Ethereum if it still has these issues with speed and gas fees?
Yeah, I think the reason is pretty simple. I think Ethereum definitely had a first mover advantage. It was the first major blockchain that allowed programmable money. It allowed it was the first Turing complete blockchain out there. I say in my book, Bitcoin wants to be peer-to-peer money. Ethereum wants to be peer-to-peer everything. And the way that it wants to achieve that is with this decentralized network that can not only process transactions, but it can process whatever computer program you throw at it. So this kind of very flexible layer and distributed network just gave way to developers to build all of these different applications on top of it in a way that just wasn't possible before. Many of the earlier builders on Ethereum came from Bitcoin because they were having issues building on top of Bitcoin. I know that the Joey Krug from Augur, one of the most prominent Ethereum founders, was trying to build Augur on Ethereum on Bitcoin first, and so he's just one of many. Ethereum was launched in 2015, and it was just the first really smart contract platform. So it did have this first mover advantage. It's had kind of a head start at building a community, and this huge community of developers and researchers and entrepreneurs and investors around Ethereum that's been growing since 2015 is hugely valuable, and it's something that other newer blockchains simply, I mean, they just can't have. And it's this incredible community and network what really puts Ethereum at the front and at the top of the smart contract platforms. And it's proving to be really hard to compete with that, even for blockchains that, you know, may claim to have better tech that, you know, can be faster, cheaper. The reality is that people today are willing to pay to be where everything's happening. Like traders would rather pay for a high transaction cost and be where all the volume is, all the coins are, all the dApps are, than be at a ghost town at a different blockchain that may be 100 times faster and cheaper. The question is whether, you know, how long Ethereum can keep up, you know, can maintain that lead.
I mean, do you think that there becomes a time in the foreseeable future where they can be supplanted as the largest one, or do you think that the network effect is so great and the community is so large that you know, they really have an epically huge advantage and nobody can catch up?
Um, No, I think it would be naive to think that because a project or network or what someone has the lead, that they can never they can never be replaced. I don't, you know, I don't think anyone in Ethereum building on Ethereum should be complacent, because the reality is that the incredibly expensive transaction fees are making people migrate to other chains today. Like we're seeing Binance chain, you know, gaining steam, and with all its problems, like obviously Binance doesn't have kind of the decentralization benefits that Ethereum has. It doesn't have the community that Ethereum has, but it is run and led by the largest exchange. So, you know, people are seeing value in having, even if it's a more centralized chain, having just a cheaper place to transact. So I think this is becoming a huge learning point for Ethereum, and a moment of truth. Like,
Right.
you know, I think Ethereum, you know, people building on Ethereum are realizing that they better get layer twos in place. They better migrate to these more scalable solutions, or, you know, face people just going to other chains like Binance.
So, can you discuss Ethereum 2.0, what it means, why it's been so delayed, and whether it will actually solve some of these scalability issues and the high fees and such?
Mm. Yeah, so I think right now the real viable alternative for or way for Ethereum to scale is layer two solutions. And so for those who might not know what they are, these are technical solutions networks that take some of the pressure off the Ethereum main chain and they take it to a second network off of the main chain. So for example, some of the transactions would happen on these separate networks. Some of the computing power, some of the storage would be taken outside of the Ethereum network and onto these layer two solutions. They usually work by kind of bundling a bunch of transactions off of Ethereum and onto these layer two solutions, so that, say, 1,000 transactions happen on these networks very quickly and very cheaply, and then they confirm that kind of bundle of transactions on kind of the main Ethereum chain. And so instead of having to do 1,000 transactions on Ethereum they only do one transaction on Ethereum. So that speeds up obviously the throughput and makes processing on Ethereum just cheaper and faster. So that's kind of the main idea of layer 2 solutions. And there's a few of them. There's optimistic rollups, CK rollups, plasma, stake channels. There's a bunch. So I think, and the good thing about this is that these layer 2s are live, like all of these are kind of working. They're not kind of in the research phase like they have been for the past couple of years. Like just now in the past couple of months, all of these have been launched, and some of the biggest Ethereum projects are moving some of their operations to these layer 2 solutions. Synthetics is a notable example, moving to optimistic rollups, or part of it is moving to optimistic rollups. So this is something very real that's happening today, that some of Ethereum's major DeFi platforms can move to these more scalable solutions. So I think the question is, this needs to happen in just, with many of them moving together, because you lose some of that composability for which DeFi is known for, kind of this money Legos feature where everything is interconnected. If you have some of these projects on layer 1 and some on layer 2, and even on some that are on different layer 2s, this composability breaks. So that's what needs to happen now, to have a large group of these applications move to, like, choose one layer 2 to move together, and I think this would alleviate a lot of the pain that Ethereum users are having today. And then so that's layer 2, and that's kind of the solution that's here today. I think ETH2 is a solution that's for the next, for more the long term, for the next couple of years. Like, that's not happening anytime soon. What did happen at the beginning of this year is that that staking on ETH2 was launched. So backtracking a little bit, I guess. So ETH2
Sure.
is a completely separate chain from Ethereum. It's not like a fork. Like, they're not upgrading the current Ethereum chain. It's a completely new chain that is being developed in parallel to Ethereum. And this chain, unlike the current Ethereum chain, which is proof of work, like Bitcoin, this new chain is proof of stake. And so the first phase of deployment of ETH2 was releasing just the proof of stake part of ETH2. And so this is what happened this year, and anyone can go and stake Ether on this chain and start earning rewards, but with the caveat that you can stake ETH, but because transactions aren't live on the chain yet, you can't withdraw ETH. So it has a ton of risk. But anyway, so that's kind of what's live and what the current status of ETH2 is right now. It's just a proof of stake chain where you can't have any transactions, or you can't really do much with it. And then there are a few other phases in deployment of ETH2 that still need to happen. And like we've seen with Ethereum development, which is, very organic, decentralized, and that's a good thing. But the bad thing of it is that it seems a little bit chaotic, where, things are delayed. People have different opinions about things. Things change along the way. So, I wouldn't. I would kind of be very cautious with the different deadlines that you see for ETH2. Yeah.
Right, because we've never seen them met. I mean, waiting for Ethereum too is like showing up at the concert at 6 p.m. and then the headliner goes on at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you wonder what you've been doing there waiting for 8 hours. I mean, like you said, it's sort of just been indefinitely delayed. I think it was very, it was good to see the actual proof of stake happen and for people to be able to stake. But I think a lot of people thought that meant that ETH2 was happening.
Mm.
And it's just sort of, as you said, the first step. So I guess then the question is, if we need to focus on layer two solutions before that happens, how do you get a whole bunch of competitive apps to move to get dApps to move together to one layer two solution? Because like you said, you have the money Legos, but that falls apart if 20% goes to one layer two and 20% goes to another layer two, and you end up with all this sort of scattered interest.
I think everyone realizes that even if they may be competing against each other, they're still relying on each other to work. Like I think on I think it's become clear how important and beneficial to everyone this level of composability is. I mean, the fact that users can go from trading on Uniswap to staking on Aave in a couple of seconds. That's something that even if they're different projects, they're all relying on each other to work. So I think it's in everyone's best interest to move together. And maybe what ends up happening is that there are kind of different districts, and that like there might be kind of one layer two which works best for dexes, another one which may work best for lending, and that maybe there are bridges between these solutions that can help kind of connect these different applications. I don't know. I think a lot of it remains to be seen, but I think there's a lot of urgency today. There's a lot more urgency today than there was before for all of these developers to figure it out, because like right now Ethereum can only be really used by whales. Like all of kind
Yeah.
of the individual traders are being pushed out. Like you need to be moving large amounts of crypto for like $100 transactions to make sense, and I don't think anyone on Ethereum wants this. Like DeFi is supposed to be about opening access to finance to everyone around the world, and yeah, like these high costs are really defeating that purpose.
Yeah. I mean, anecdotally, my own personal experience, I use, Matcha, Uniswap. I use these things all the time, depending on what time of day and what the price of Ethereum is or how much volatility there is at any given moment. I can pay up to $300 or $400 fees for a single transaction, and the same transaction could be $75 12
Yeah.
hours later. So you have no predictable fees. So you have no idea really as a trader, certainly how much profit you can expect or what you're going to end up paying. And like you said, I mean, if you're making a $200 transaction, it makes no sense. You got to be
Yeah.
making like multiple four-figure, if not five-figure transactions to even consider it. Another interesting thing that I realized talking to a lot of people, there were a lot of NFT creators who were, artists doing small Ethereum
Mm.
pieces who were doing really, really well last year and now literally can't sell their art anymore because the transaction fee costs more than the piece of art that they're selling.
Yeah, no, and that's a shame, because I was so excited to see how NFTs were really being a gateway for another type of audience into crypto. I think that's been amazing, because really up until this point, it's really been traders and people wanting to speculate with tokens, or at least invest in Bitcoin as a hedge for their own fiat. What's been driving people to crypto, but now with NFTs, we have this whole new audience that's
Yeah.
becoming interested in this space. Artists, creators who see a way of monetizing their work. I think that's been amazing to see. I think, yeah, it's a shame that these high gas prices may be putting a hold on that, but I'm really optimistic that it's temporary.
I
That
think so.
this group of people are seeing the value in owning in digital ownership that just wasn't possible before, and I think we're seeing more and more people come into the space this way. I mean, again, like also anecdotally, just the views on our YouTube channel so many people coming to the channel because of the NFT content and not so much the yield farming content anymore, which is, crazy. So it's great. Like before, when people said, I think digital art is gonna help crypto go to mainstream, I thought that was like very kind of idealistic, optimistic view. But then it's really happening. So yeah, it's been a good surprise.
Sick of paying ridiculous fees to trade crypto? It's time you try Voyager. It's hands down my favorite place to buy and trade crypto and is 100% commission free. Voyager gives you easy access to more than 50 top crypto assets, and you can instantly transfer cash from your bank account so you never miss a trading opportunity. Even better, you can now automatically earn interest on your crypto holdings. Currently, they're offering up to 6.5 APR on Bitcoin and up to 9.5% on USDC. Yes, you heard that correctly, up to 9.5%. And there are no limits or lockups, which means your funds always stay liquid. Find out why so many people are making the switch to Voyager. Visit investvoyager.com or search for Voyager on the Apple App Store or Google Play Store and get $25 in free Bitcoin when you use the promo code SCOTT25. That's SCOTT25. This episode is brought to you by Mina, the world's lightest blockchain. Mina is a layer 1 crypto protocol that replaces the traditional blockchain with a zero knowledge proof, ensuring a super light and constant size chain that allows participants to quickly sync and verify the network. Their upcoming mainnet launch is right around the corner, and there are opportunities to participate in community leaderboard challenges for rewards. Visit minaprotocol.com/wolf to find out how you can get involved and earn tokens ahead of mainnet. DeFi is where all the excitement is, but participating in it can be a nightmare. Not anymore with Matcha. Matcha makes it ridiculously easy to create a wallet, onboard new users, execute trades, and source liquidity. The best part is that it's cheaper than Uniswap and delivers the best prices on the market by aggregating all the available liquidity and routing to the best source. My favorite part of Matcha is that it offers high-level trading features like limit orders, liquidity depth visualization, gas efficiency, and more. Sign up for Matcha now at matcha.xyz/wolf. That's matcha.xyz/WOLF and join the tens of thousands of traders who are already a part of the movement. I have friends who I've had trouble convincing to, get into crypto. I've told to buy Bitcoin for months and years, who are now aggressively trading, on NBA Top Shots or whatever it's called, trading NBA highlight clips and investing in NFTs, and they absolutely love the market. So I think you're right. I think that really might be a gateway for a lot of mainstream adoption for the space. I just hope that it becomes more scalable and affordable for people, especially for the creators, to be able to actually sell their work.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah. So I'm curious because they seem so different, Bitcoin and Ethereum, and it always comes back to this. Why is there so much tribalism in this space? And why are Bitcoin maximalists and Ethereum maximalists so at odds? Why can't they both exist happily?
I don't know. I don't know. I think it's really, it's a shame. I think for me, Ethereum and Bitcoin just serve different purposes. I don't think they are competing against each other. I think both are extremely valuable. To me, Bitcoin Bitcoin changed the world. It was the first cryptocurrency, the first distributed network that allowed actual peer-to-peer value transfers without a bank in between. I mean, that's mind-blowing. And today, I think it's really cemented its case as digital gold, as this place where you can have a hedge against fiat currency, against financial institutions and central banks, and just as a way almost to protest against traditional finance and against the way that things have always been done. I think that's really powerful, and it's because of its simplicity. It's like, because it's so kind of ossified, right? Like it's not changing. Developers aren't planning a Bitcoin 2.0. They're not kind of like innovating very much, and it's just this digital currency that you can trust to stay the same, to have its 21 million cap, and that's it. It's just very solid, trustworthy thing that you can buy, and And so that's, to me, that's a very good case for digital gold. And then Ethereum is completely different. It's become the layer for blockchain-based finance, because it is different, because it's flexible, because it has smart contracts, because it has some more dynamic group of developers that are willing to change this network to make sure that it can scale, and to make sure that it can support all these applications, something that Bitcoin decided very, very early on it wasn't doing. Like, there was this debate about increasing Bitcoin block size early on in its development, and developers decided against it. And so that's a very different philosophy from Ethereum. And so, because they are built different, they are being used for different things. To me, Ethereum is the layer for the Internet of Money. Bitcoin is digital gold. So they're really not competing. I think that maybe the reason why there is kind of this maximalism is from people who believe that both digital currencies are going after the same thing. And I think this might stem from this, like, ETH is money meme that kind of really intensified, I think, last year. So yes, like, people saying ETH is money, that more directly competes with Bitcoin on some level. But to me, again, like, not really. Like, to me, Bitcoin really isn't like made to be money. Like, it's not meant for you to buy coffee with it. I
No,
think stablecoins are much better suited for that. So,
sure.
like, again, like, I really don't see the point of having this, I don't know, this rivalry.
I mean, I agree. It's like, Peter Schiff is obviously passionate about gold, but it's like him saying, I love gold so much that I hate the internet. And,
Right. Exactly. That's
and to me,
exactly,
yeah,
yeah.
to me, they're just so like disparate. And honestly, if you're a Bitcoin maximalist and you view Bitcoin as your way to opt out of legacy systems, and you see the, like, the pump, short the bankers, long Bitcoin memes,
Hmm.
you would think that you would dig into Ethereum and to DeFi and understand the best way to short the bankers is to completely cut them out and create a better banking system, which to me is
Exactly.
what DeFi is. So I want to talk more about DeFi. Obviously, we saw a huge boom in 2020, yield farming, food coins, rug pulls, crashes. I want to talk about the basics of how you would define DeFi and what the future of it looks like. And
Hmm.
then also, I'm curious if you think that it's matured from what we saw last summer when all of those things were happening.
Mm. Great. Yeah. Okay. So, like, the basics of DeFi, like, the definition is basically the ecosystem of financial applications that are being built on public blockchains. So most of this has been happening on top of Ethereum, but there are other blockchains that are also enabling very, emergent DeFi ecosystems too. And what's kind of mind blowing about this space is that there's an entirely new financial system that's being built from the ground up. So all the applications that you see on traditional finance are being built from scratch on Ethereum and other blockchains. So things from payments to borrowing and lending to investments, automated investments, savings accounts, all that stuff, trading, insurance, all those just basic building blocks that you need to transact money with. Those are being built without banks, replacing banks with smart contracts and with computer code. And it's just incredible. I think the fact that all of these functions can be put on distributed networks, what it does is that it creates a global financial system for the first time, a global and open financial system for the first time. Because up until today, traditional finance has been running on systems that weren't really made to carry value. Like all of the just like basic financial infrastructure is built on really messaging networks, like Swift, AVA, ACH, just like the very rails of finance. They're not made to transact value. They're you're really messaging your bank account number to another bank, and they're processing, and they're like making changes on their centralized ledgers. It's all very cumbersome. So by taking these entities out and putting these functions on distributed networks, which were built to transact value, you're disrupting the whole thing and making it so much more efficient.
And also, not only do you have like the clunky centralized authorities, the banks, like you said, who have their own centralized ledger and each transaction has to be checked, but you're also eliminating them as tax collectors, right? I mean,
Mm.
for the individual,
Mhm.
they're taking fees every single time your
Yeah,
transaction goes to someone else and goes to someone else. Everybody's taking their piece, and that's somewhat being
exactly.
eliminated here.
Definitely. Yeah. So, I mean, it's becoming more efficient, faster, cheaper, or at least in theory, without
In
the
theory,
high
cheaper, right?
gas
Without the
fees.
gas fees,
In
of course.
theory. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's a given that all of these issues that we're seeing today with congestion on Ethereum are going to be solved. Like these
I
are,
agree. Yeah.
technical problems that are, it's like when you remember what it was like connecting to the internet in the 1990s and how far we've come along from there. To me, we're at that point where it's just like painful to use blockchains, but it's just a matter of time before these kind of uh, roadblocks uh, are solved. Um, so, anyways, that's what's so revolutionary about DeFi, is that it truly is a new financial system, and one that is open to everyone for the first time, and that is global. Because right now these systems are built on these just like ancient clunky infrastructure, and it's also infrastructure that is gated um, in every country. Like they it's finance with borders. Like the US has its own financial system, which is different from Canada's, and it's different from Mexico. Even though they're right next to each
Share
other, they
land.
have
Yeah.
their own separate system. With blockchain and DeFi, this doesn't happen. It's like you're all part of the same network. And this like literally means lowering borders, like taking down borders for finance and making it open for everyone. So it's yeah, it's a real kind of revolution happening with money.
I love the analogy of the internet connections in the 90s. I graduated college in 1999, and I remember I got the blue iMac, and it had a 14.4 modem, and like everyone thought I was amazing because I had such fast internet at a 14.4 modem that like dialed up and took 10 minutes to download a picture. But
Yeah.
if that's where DeFi is now, and we have so many projects, can't you then sort of make the assumption that a lot of them are not going to make it, much like
Oh,
many of the companies that were focused on the internet in the 90s did not make it?
100%. Like I think that's kind of a I think you'd have to be, I don't know, incredibly like optimistic to believe that all of the applications that we're seeing today in DeFi will be the same ones that we'll see 10 years from now, or 20 years from now. I think the applications building on DeFi today are setting the groundwork for what finance will be in the future. I think maybe a few of those will survive. Most of the rest will die, or will be transformed, or maybe death in blockchain is works differently from death in Web 2. Like these coins will still kind of exist, and maybe these protocols will be modified, and who knows, like maybe there's they'll have like more longevity because they can be kind of taken over by different communities as they go along. But the point is that the shape of DeFi will be different 10 years from now. I mean, we're seeing how much things change just, week to week or day to day even. So yeah, I think that's a given.
Right. I mean, people love to make the analogy, obviously, or compare it to the internet bubble of the late 90s, early 2000s. So that begs the question, who becomes the pets.com here and who becomes the Amazons and the Googles? Are there any projects that exist now that like you're seeing, not your opinion, of course, but as a journalist, that you're seeing that level of interest or innovation on that you think they could be the Amazon or the ones that really make it? Are there any that excite you on that level, or you're seeing that sort of adoption?
But it's hard to say for like individual projects, but I think, just looking at it from just like facts and just like numbers on, where the interest is. I think, well, MakerDAO has been kind of the backbone of DeFi from the beginning. I mean, you can argue that they started this ecosystem because they were the first lender borrower. They are kind of the DeFi central bank issuing DAI and kind of setting the base interest rates. So I think, and they have remained an important part of the ecosystem, even if it's like at 5 years old. I think like it can be considered old school by some in
That's
DeFi today.
500 years. That's 500
Yeah.
years in crypto. That's
But it has remained relevant, and it's still holding, I think, the most total value locked still today. So I think it's proven that it can it 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 can kind of survive as at least so far, and innovate. And then like the top other protocols, same thing with Aave and Compound. They are uh, concentrating the most total value locked as well. And they have become kind of important utilities in the space, kind of the trusted protocols where people can deposit their crypto and earn some yield without having as big a fear of getting hacked as kind of the newer players. Like, they've been more tried and tested. And in the same way that we've seen with Ethereum, I think first mover advantages matter. And they just having been in this space for a long time and having been able to keep their users' money safe is just it's very valuable in this space. So right now those are kind of the top projects. So yeah, it remains to be seen whether they will be going forward, but they definitely have an important head start. Same with Uniswap. Like, that's it's by far the biggest DEX. It's proven to be led by a really strong team, and to be able to innovate really quickly, even if it's one of the most actually decentralized projects. So I think that speaks really well of that project as well.
Yeah. Where do, I guess, as people like to call them, the crypto banks, the BlockFi's and Nexos and Voyagers, they're a broker, but Celsius, where do those fall into this picture?
Well, to me, those really aren't actually DeFi. They are kind of that like a different category. But I've seen this kind of meme of a C DeFi, like and I think that can be like totally viable going forward. Like, these CeFi players who want to decentralize part of their operations, or who want to create links to DeFi. I think we'll start seeing that more and more. And also, I think we'll see more just traditional fintechs build bridges to DeFi. I think DeFi, if it continues to grow as it has, will become impossible to ignore going forward. And like I said, it really is a better system. Like having this kind of open global network for money where everything just moves seamlessly and you don't need to create an account and you can just transact with your blockchain wallet. It's just like incredibly, just like so much better than the old way of doing things. So I think it's just, it's a matter of time before more people realize that's the case. And when they do, I think traditional finance and fintech will have to catch up. And I think they'll do this integrating more pieces of DeFi in their own offering.
Right. That's what I was going to ask next. Taking it a step further past the, CDFI or CFI, as people like to call them, we have real banks, right? And we've seen, I can speak for certainly in the United States, the OCC saying that banks will be allowed to custody Bitcoin, which obviously means eventually they're going to lend against it and use it as collateral. And we've seen now that they're allowed to, test stable coins instead of Swift and the other sort of legacy rails that we discussed. Is there a threat that whether it's regulators or the banks themselves sort of take a huge piece of this market share and ruin it for us effectively?
I think it'll be really hard for traditional banks to actually compete with DeFi, with actual DeFi applications, because I think that there's a chance that they will create links to it. Like, okay, maybe they will become kind of the on ramps into DeFi. Maybe they'll start offering different DeFi tokens, or open, or like Coinbase does. Like they integrate, for example, Compound and allow lending through Compound via the Coinbase app. I think that's more likely that will happen with traditional banks. They'll become kind of a gateway into DeFi. But I don't see them kind of building their own protocol on Ethereum or on like whatever network ends up winning. So I think it'll be more of like a bridge for like mainstream people.
That makes a lot of sense. I've always argued that the BlockFis and Voyagers of the world are kind of like the gateway drug for crypto in general now, because you can't get any yield in a bank. When I explain it to someone who doesn't understand crypto, but I say you can buy USDC and get 8.5 or 9% by simply putting it there. They understand that, right? So maybe that's a good thing that, we have these sort of more mainstream platforms that allow people to get comfortable with it, because most people are not going to start yield farming, right?
Yeah, no, and they shouldn't. Like, yeah, no, 100%. I think, to me, dollar-based savings accounts will be the way that most people get into DeFi in the first place. Both from developing nations and developed nations. I think there's like the common case for DeFi has been, and for crypto has been, people who are in developing nations with double-digit inflations and currency controls. They can get a dollar-based asset and deposit and open a deposit on Compound and start earning 10% interest on that. But I think like the case is as strong for someone in a developed country that's having to pay their bank to deposit fiat currency. Like they have negative rates. So on both sides, both developed and developing world, like the use case for DeFi, at least as like just a place to store some of your savings, not even all of it. Like I would never recommend someone to go all in on DeFi and put all of your life savings on in DeFi, but like at least you can have like 10% of your savings in a lending borrowing platform, and start earning a little bit more yield on your money. And I think that will resonate with a large group of people, and maybe CFI and just traditional banks and fintechs can be a gateway for that. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think that totally makes sense. So I'm curious actually about you individually. I mean, what made you become so passionate about this? What made you discuss, what made you discover, I guess, I don't know, the path, Bitcoin and Ethereum, decide to start the Defiant, which you can talk about more, and to write a book?
Yeah, sure. So I guess, okay, my background, I'm a journalist. I'm originally from Santiago, Chile. I started my career at Bloomberg News, and I started at Bloomberg in an internship in New York, but was soon sent to Argentina to cover the market there. And it was in Argentina that I wrote about Bitcoin for the first time in 2013. So I was covering how Argentines were protecting against inflation and currency controls, and saw that there was this Bitcoin community that was really growing quickly there. And so, yeah, wrote a story on that. And then after that was always just interested in this space. Like I was suffering from having to hold Argentine pesos myself. So I really saw the value of having a completely independent, censorless money. I thought it was amazing that this could even exist. So I always kind of kept tabs on crypto. And then it was in 2017. I was at back in New York, still at Bloomberg, and had the chance to cover crypto more on a day-to-day basis because there was just so much demand for Bitcoin and crypto news at the time with the boom. So yeah, it was like I became one of the few Bloomberg reporters covering the space day to day. And I was just really fascinated by the space. And I had always wanted to write a book. Um, so it was like my dream growing up. Like my idols were Michael Lewis and Truman Capote. So I was like always on the lookout for like a real life story that I could tell like in a way that was more of like a fiction novel. So after covering crypto in 2017, I was like, there has to be a book here. And so I started thinking about what the best story was, and saw that there had been books written about Bitcoin and the story behind Bitcoin, obviously, but nothing had been written about Ethereum. And I thought, like there needs to be a book on Ethereum. Like it's the second biggest cryptocurrency. It fueled a lot of the craziness that we had seen in 2017 with the ICOs. It had this really ambitious premise behind it, that it wanted to be this world computer and programmable money and smart contracts, like all of this very groundbreaking stuff. So to me, like it was a sure bet. Like Ethereum had already changed the story, like the history of blockchain and money and even tech. So to me, it was like worth documenting how it started, and like the people behind it and the stories and everything. So yeah, that's how I decided to write the Infinite Machine. And yeah, really happy with how it turned out. And then I spent 2018 between writing my book and still at Bloomberg, and then 2019 decided to leave Bloomberg to really finish my book, and also because I had been there for 8 years, so thought that was enough time to be at one spot. Um, and then as I was finishing my book, I saw like DeFi really emerging and growing quickly, and thought that nobody was doing a great job at covering the space. So decided to just like start with a daily newsletter at first and see how that went. And my initial idea was that I would file the first draft of my book, and I would then be like an independent journalist on tech and finance, and have this like newsletter be like a side thing. But then like it became my full-time job. And now I've been really full-time focused on the Defiant and turning it into a media company.
It's such an awesome story. So, all that said, and all of that building, do you have a second book in the works? What's the future look like for the Defiant? What do you have planned as it continues to grow?
Um, so right now, like my focus is 100% on the Defiant. I just grew it from one full-time person, myself, to 8 this year. So
awesome.
it's been amazing to have full-time journalists covering the space, full-time video producers with Robin Schmidt leading the video side of things, and even full-time developers. I'm building a DeFi data platform.
Awesome.
So yeah, I'm so excited about launching that. Will be coming out soon. So my plan with the Defiant is to turn it into the Bloomberg of DeFi. And a lot of people, it's an old pitch, like the Bloomberg of crypto has, been said over and over
Sure.
again. But I think what's a little bit different for the Defiant is that it's actually Bloomberg in the sense that it's both news and data. Like, a lot of people who say that the Bloomberg of crypto are referring to just the data.
Yeah.
But being, inside Bloomberg, I saw how important the news and the content side was to it. So yeah, that's what I'm building with the Defiant. I'm super excited with how that's going, and I just see, I see it's inevitable that DeFi will just become finance. So hopefully we are kind of the place that people go to find just quality information on it. And then I would love to write a second book. So once I'm able to just like delegate more of my work for the Defiant, I will definitely want to find the time to write book number 2, but
The sushi
TBD what that is.
saga.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Called the rug pull. It's
I
what a crazy
think
stuff.
that's a great name.
Yeah. So
The Rectal.
yeah. So with all that in mind, what do you think of what's happening in the market in general? It's been, when you look back at where we were a year ago in 2020, obviously people were screaming that crypto was dead. We saw March 12th when Bitcoin dropped below 4,000, and there was really a lot of like kind of gloom and doom in the market. But then, I mean, I guess if you've been around, you kind of expected it was possible, but most people were very surprised by where we are sitting now and seeing this grand adoption, the Michael Saylors and Tesla and everybody sort of coming into the space. A, do you think that this bull run will continue in general? Do you think that we're at the beginning or that we're cycling up? And B, seeing that Grayscale is buying more of Ethereum than is mined, and they're seeing institutional interest, do you think that Ethereum is going to be a serious player in that institutional market and adoption as well?
So okay, on the bull run, I think, I'm not gonna say whether like crypto is gonna be higher or lower than it is today, tomorrow, but I think I just look at the space from a long-term perspective. I'm obviously, very bullish on blockchain and crypto. I'm building a company based on, the thing, like believing that this is the future. So
Sure.
of course I'm very bullish on this space long term. I think bull runs and corrections will come. I think we'll see fewer and fewer of them as the space grows, but I think we're still early, and so it's, it will happen that expectations get ahead of reality in
Sure.
blockchain, and that's how bubbles are formed. And it's, it's a volatile market. It's still small compared with you know stocks and bonds and traditional markets, so it's very easy or it's easier to see really big moves in this space. So I think it's, just the nature of where the market is, that we will continue to see bubbles and bear markets and corrections. I think, if people are wondering whether to buy Bitcoin or ETH now, or it's too late, it depends on your like time horizon. I think if you're
Sure.
in it for the long term, then I 100% recommend owning some
Yeah.
crypto. I think that's an easy bet. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Dollar
here to
cost
stay. It's
average.
not
And
going anywhere.
yeah.
Yeah. If you want to make a quick buck, and I don't know, then I have no idea whether this thing is gonna correct or drop like 30% tomorrow. So
Right.
but I'm in it for the long term. I think blockchain is 100% here to stay. I believe it's the future of finance. For ETH, for institutions, I I think it makes sense. Like, I think institutions go for Bitcoin first because it's the largest, the most liquid, the best known. I think it only makes sense, the next one they look at will be Ethereum. Yeah. So, and I think it's also been the case for regulators that they said Ethereum is a commodity and first, and then they said the same thing for ETH. Same thing with the SEC. It took them some time, but they eventually said that ETH is not a security, that it's decentralized enough. And so we've seen kind of Bitcoin lead the way in terms of like regulatory clarity and in terms of institutional adoption and being bought by uh, big, corporations. And I think, we're the same thing has happened with ETH. Like, ETH has historically kind of followed after Bitcoin's footsteps. So I don't think there's any reason to kind of doubt that will be the case going forward.
Awesome. Love to hear it. because I agree. Well, I know we're up against it with time. So where can everybody follow you and sign up for the Defiant and follow what you guys are doing?
Yeah. So you can follow me on Twitter at Camila Russo, CAMIRUSSO. And please subscribe to The Defiant on thedefiant.substack.com. There's also a YouTube channel. It's The Defiant. And the podcast you can find on Spotify, Apple. It's also on Anchor, where you can see all the different places it's distributed. But if you go to thedefiant.io, you'll find links to all of the stuff, like all the Defiant media properties. So yeah, go check us out. We are really trying really hard to keep up to date with the latest DeFi content in the highest quality way possible. So
good luck with that. Because
yeah, no, it's tough.
That's why I need
it's
people
really
like
tough,
you.
But yeah, no, we
Every
try to
day
make it
you
easy.
turn
There's so
around.
much going on.
Yeah.
But
It's going to keep you
our
busy.
goal is that you only need to open the Defiant newsletter and you'll be on top of things. So that's all you need to do. So go subscribe.
It is an incredible resource because it's nearly impossible on your own to even be exposed to 5% of what's happening on a daily basis. I'm not surprised that it's taken you staffing up 8 people to keep up with what's going on in DeFi and what you're building. So really exciting. I can't wait to see what you guys have for the rest of the year, and hopefully to continue to enjoy this amazing market and growth that we're seeing in this space. Thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. Like I said, it was long overdue, so I'm sorry it took so long to get to.
No, thank you so much for inviting me. This was really fun talk.
Awesome. Thanks again.
Let's go.